Okay, 1111, something good, something new, something affordable. Definitely something affordable. How about the ZiiGaat Nuo? This is by a company that you're very familiar with. It's just got different names, so you're not familiar with this name. I'll talk about that more. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is kind of a after edit, so I'm going to blend this in by fading in and fading out. So bear with me as we glide back down in here. If you're interested in the Aura by Astle and Kern, XVE collaboration, which is like $5,000. A subscriber who comments below this video is going to win that set. And if you can thumb up the video, I can ask for that. It helps with the algorithm. I would greatly appreciate that. This is the $20 set. That is the cable and the set. We'll talk about this real quick. Let's go right to the graph since this is so important for a lot of people. This is a great set because it's got two things that are completely different. One is the ZiiGaat EM6L, which is a 5-driver set. I have no idea where 6 came from, but it's a single dynamic 4 balanced armatures, I believe. And a lot of people like it. If there is a nitpick that some people have is they say it can become a little bit energetic at times. The upper mids can be a little bit energetic. That is what people cite as the con of that set. And then on the other end of the spectrum, literally, really, we've got the collaboration that I did, the Z300 from Belon. One of the cons of that set was the exact opposite, that the gain was a little bit too low and it seemed to make the bass kind of dominant because again it's a single dynamic driver versus the hybrid of the EM6L. So these are presenting kind of details and resolution in very, very different ways. This Nuo splits right through the middle, a little bit closer to the EM6L, giving you a little bit more energy to balance out the low end. And it's $20. So it's a set that is safe for playing a hip-hop library. For a rock and roll library, it will play classical because it's really a lot like the EM6L without that little extra zing, a little bit of extra energy. And again, it's $20. Let me go ahead and turn this down for a second. I put this here because this is the cable that came with that set that I said that you can maybe win on this comment, and it's like a beige gray, and it's just absolute total garbage, and it's a $5,000 set. It's kind of mind-blowing. This set is $20, and it has a very nice, simple cable. It's actually really nice, and it falls out, and you can use it nice and easily, and you can wrap it back up if you want. It's got indicators that are very clear for left and right. So the cable is superior to a $5,000 cable, but that's what happens in this hobby. This is the shell. I also like this as well because it's quite simple. It's got black metal caps on it. You can touch it. It's cool to the touch. And then it's got kind of a dark smoked resin. It's also got a screen that is an actual screen, and it's not like that aluminum foil with the triangle stamps in it that looks so ghetto and cheap. It doesn't have that. Again, this is a company that has control of the whole supply chain. So build quality is nice. Cable is nice. In its price range, it's good. That's the graph right there. I'm going to go ahead and sit down and give a brief discussion about music and specifically what I like and what you might want to know about. And we'll move on to that. Okay, let's talk about bass. Starting with the bass guitar, 4-string Black Sabbath Master Reality. There's a bassist and a drummer that are going on at around the same time, and a lot of dynamic drivers can kind of choke on this a little bit. Masking, kind of smearing can occur quite easily because these are two instruments that are playing with some energy on the same part of the frequency response, which is the lower end, particularly in the lower mids, and impacting kind of everything that comes after that, and they kind of can mask each other and cancel each other out. Planars can do this really well. BAs seem to do it next as well. As planars, not quite as good. And then DDs, single DD forms, are the most tasked. It's a single transducer. This does pretty good. This does similar to the M6L because I think it's got a little more upper mid energy. It's balancing that out via the overtones or the harmonics, whereas the Z300, which is my collab, is a little more, can get a little bit too warm for this to be resolved in a way that you might find to be really appealing. It's a kind of, again, about kind of splitting between the EM6L and the Z300. As we get to Led Zeppelin, the kick drum, this is where we get into stuff where the debate of what is faithful reproduction as the artist intended, etc., etc. A lot of people kind of debate that. I don't really get into that because I don't need to with my library, because this track, When the Levee Breaks from the Fourth Album of Led Zeppelin, was reviewed a lot at the time of its release, and there's also videos in the modern day on YouTube describing how it was created, because it's literally an iconic moment, because it's a forceful very produced intro of the drummer dun, ch, dun, dun, coming into the track. It's very powerful. As described at the time it was released, which I think was 1971, a long time ago. And again, people nowadays who are drummers and they take lessons, or they're teachers and they teach drums, or just music fans, they do videos about it now. So there's no question of what it was supposed to be at the time it was released and how it was interpreted. So I used that. Some sets that I listen to are a little bit too lean in the mid bass, and it'll sound like a kick drum. But that's it. Not a forceful, that doesn't have extra energy. It's not like a boom, 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 boom. It's more like just a regular kick drum without any production on it. And that's really not what I'm looking for when I listen to this track. I want something that's got more energy. This set gives me that energy. And again, like I mentioned in the previous bass description, it's not so much that it gets in the way of another low frequency instrument. So I think it's doing the low end well. It does stuff like Lil Wayne, Big Boy Kill Jill. It does that good as well as the tuning would indicate to you. I think stuff like Chris Cornell and vocals in general, because everything I listen to, Robert Plant would be singing on this track that I was just talking about, sounds good. Female vocals got a little bit of lift to them, but not so much. If you thought that the EM6L was not a problem with female vocals, and I would suggest this probably wouldn't be a problem either. As we get into treble, where we're really talking about mostly all overtones and harmonics, which is really the same thing. I think it sounds excellent, actually. I didn't find the EM6L to be fatiguing, which is something I have to explain to you. But I could get how some people could think that. Electric guitars with distortion pedals could sometimes do a little bit of that for me, but it didn't fatigue me. This will be a little bit more forgiving. Vivaldi, Verdi, Tchaikovsky, the three composers that make up the bulk of my classical listening, sound excellent. Strings can be sensitive to too much mid-bass lift because it'll give a kind of a tone to it, a hum, kind of blur, actually, is what I would kind of describe that as. It just doesn't sound that great. It's not muddied up because there's so much that's existing in the harmonic and overtone range, but it can get kind of blurred by too much low end. This set doesn't do that. It plays back string sections, brass. It all sounds quite good. This doesn't really have a clear weak point at $20. It's got a nice cable. It's got a nice build quality. It's got a company that's got the supply chain from beginning to end. They're not dependent on anybody else. They're going to be releasing lots of other stuff. They have a lot of experience behind them. The quality materials, the build quality has got to be great because they're already building other stuff. Weak point, you've never heard of the company. You have, but you haven't. You know what I'm saying? And it's a kind of a, I guess, safe would be a negative to it. It's not a specialty set. It's not something that's going to nail classical and that's your classical set. It's not going to be a bass head set. It's going to be something that plays most of your library really good. And depending on your preferences, might play parts of it really, really well. For $20, it's an excellent rec for me to give to you because I can't think of genres that, again, the only question I would have is the EM6L and how it played back stuff like J-pop, K-pop. Go take a look at somebody who's got a library like that and see what their feedback was, because this would be quite similar to that. So if that seemed like an okay for other people, then that would be the okay flag for you, because I can't really speak to that genre because I don't listen to it, so I won't speak on that. My female vocals are limited to, Madonna, Heart, not a lot more than that. So you guys have a great 11/11. Choose wisely, enjoy it, get the best deals that you can, and remember that if you get something from Linsol like this right here, go to the previous video and comment below, because there's a lot going on there. You might win the Diva and the AK. Qualifying is because you bought something, and this is a great candidate for that because it's $20. So I'll let you guys go. Enjoy your shopping, enjoy 11/11, enjoy the hobby, and I'm out.